Hi, everybody, and welcome. Chris Kotulak back on, if not TV, at least you're watching me on some sort of a web browser or something. And I'm joined by the iconic Andy Beyer alongside. We collaboratively are going to present to you the Dinsdale Automotive late pick five jackpot wager selections for Wednesday, May 13th. That's the business at hand. But hello, Andy, and let's exchange some pleasantries here. It's
Chris,
great to hear, always
hi.
great to hear your iconic voice.
Well, thank you. I have to tell you, I've really gotten a kick out of seeing, Fonner and also Will Rogers Downs be in the limelight as they have in the last few weeks. I was kind of got interested in this game at bull ring tracks and not the grand ones, and I've never had any prejudice against $2,500 claimers, so I've really been diving into the Fonner form and having a great time with it.
Well, Steve Bick on his radio show the other day, you were signing off, you were with him, and you said, I've got to go do my Fonner figures.
Right.
When would that have ever come out of Andy Beyer's mouth? At least not, not in this millennium. By the way, one thing I adore about you, beyond your numbers, is whenever you're talking about horse racing, and I'm getting this feeling right now, is you always seem to have this sort of giddy nature about yourself, like you can't really believe that you're talking about something you love and so much as your passion and you're sharing, yet you're doing it. And I mean, that was something I got from, which came first, Beyer on Speed or Picking Winners? I think it was Picking
Winners.
Yeah,
1975 right. Was what launched it and launched the Beyer Speed figures.
Yes, and I remember there was some reference to Nebraska horse racing and maybe a past performance from Fonner or Exarban or something. That was the greatest. Anyway, okay, well, before we get going, I do want to give special acknowledgement to Brad Melmo, who's the executive director of the Grand Island Convention and Visitors Bureau. Brad is an outstanding photographer. The photo I use on the Twitter, the Fonner Racing Twitter handle, is that image of the reverse angle of the Fonner Park sign on the tote board shooting into our empty grandstand, which of course is going on now with the COVID-19 pandemic. I am in their studio in Grand Island, downtown Grand Island, so that's why we have this as my surroundings rather than Fonner Park. Okay, Eddie, we're going to have a lot of $2,500 claimers here that we're going to have to handicap in this sequence. Fonner Park is filled with claiming races. I should stop right now. Those of you who don't know, I was a race caller years ago, and a lifetime ago, a millennium ago, I first started calling races at Fonner Park in 1986. So this goes back a ways, Andy. I love the passion for Nebraska racing and Fonner. Okay, let's talk about the first race, Andy, and we'll talk about some nuances of horse racing over a 5/8 mile racetrack, or as it is known as a bull ring. And the opening race is a 6 furlong race with some established fillies and mares in here. How did you see the race?
Well, this is an important race to me, at least for playing the pick five. This is a tough sequence. And in any like pick five or pick six, you've got to have at least a couple races where you feel that you can narrow down the competition very much. You can't, even in a 50-cent pick five, you can't go spreading in 5 races. And to me, the fifth race is a 2 filly race between number 1 Chance of Frost and number 5 Innocent Storm. If neither of them wins, you will know from miles away, well, Beyer's out. But both of these 2 horses have speed figures that lay over the field. I mean, they've run Beyer speed figures in the 50s, many times. Their opposition hasn't. And I just want to say for a moment that, we put the same kind of effort into a Fonner Park as we do for the big leagues. I mean, all of our figures have a human being who is in charge of the track, who does the figures on a daily basis, who oversees them, who examines them just to make sure everything makes sense. And so when I start handicapping, a new track like Fonner, I've got that, uh, you know, that factor as an anchor. I believe in our numbers, and in this case, say Chance of Frost is run figures in the 50s regularly last year. She's coming off an 8-month layoff, which would normally be a cause of concern. But I went to DRF Formulator and looked up the trainer Kelly Martinez from the standpoint of layoffs. And at this meeting, she's had 7 horses run off 6-month layoffs or more, and 2 of them have won, and the other one ran second at 12-1. So there's no concern there. And Innocent Storm has just got solid form.
Sure, and the one Chance of Frost, any of those races would be the kind of race that would suggest she can win this race. The question is the layoff, and beyond that, that makes so much sense. I'm glad you dove right into the Beyer speed numbers for Fonner Park, because for me, and I see this similarly as you do, Andy, as this is the pivotal race. Is there going to be a mammoth late pick 4 pool because everybody busts early? Well, they might without Innocent Storm or the 1-horse Chance of Frost. I see it the same way. The 8-horse Rai Sweetie was one that was interesting because this horse has some good consistent form, but if you look at the column of Beyer speed numbers for her, which are in the 40s on average, and then you go back to, say, Innocent Storm, she does, the 5, Innocent Storm, towers over Rai Sweetie. Is it just as plain as the nose on your face? I mean, that's the whole idea of the Beyer speed number, right?
Right, and plus Rai Sweetie is within striking distance. That's why I watched the film of her last race. She had a pretty soft rail trip, so I don't see her necessarily moving up from that.
Okay, and then the important handicapping element, and I stress this for decades on TVG, is look, it's in a pick 5 or pick 4 or pick 3, you have to pick the winner. That's the important thing. Right. Now, a horse like Rai Sweetie looks like a very live horse and could finish it in the money, so that's where the exactas and tries and supers come in there. But as far as a top pick, I believe I'm in agreement with you, and we'll hope that we're correct there. All right, Andy, so do you want to recap it all? Any numbers, or just 1 and 5? Those are your numbers.
1 and 5, period. Okay,
got it. On to race 6, more $2,500 claimers, fillies and mares, 6 furlongs. Similar story here. What did you think about the class drop of the 2-horse Put Sarah On, or what are your thoughts on this race?
Well, she ran for 5,000 last time and 2,500 today. I'm not sure. I find this, now that we're past the 5th race, I'm going into the realm of confusion.
Yes.
I mean, one of the key factor in this race is that there is a lot of speed. The 1 horse is a 4 furlong speedster stretching out. The 7 is a bullet, and so I think you've got to be a little skeptical of speed type horses in this field.
Even though in general that's what we look to in a bull ring. Right. 5/8 mile racing, short tracks, is speed being the important element, but you can have too much, obviously.
Right. I mean, when I handicap it, a bull ring track, you always know what to expect. I mean, you want to have horses who have trips on or near the rail, and you want to have horses with speed. But I think in this case, the speeds are so fast and so one-dimensional that there's a good chance for a meltdown here. And this is a race where I'm going to have to spread around, as in a lot of other races on this card. But the 2 horses that I lean toward are the 9 Dixie Delta and a little bit on the 5 Jaff Mills Inferno. I mean, Dixie Delta ran a race last time that's, I think, a lot better than it looks on paper. Yeah, she closed and won, but she closed with a real powerful swooping move on the turn. There was real acceleration. It wasn't a case where the horses were falling down in front of her. So I think that was, that was a decent figure, visually good. I think she's the horse to beat. Now, Jeff Mills Inferno, maybe I'm reaching a little bit here, particularly with a 6% trainer and a 4% jockey. This is an elite connections for Fonner. Jeff Mills Inferno has been running at 4 furlongs, and if you look at her lifetime record, that's not necessarily her game. She's got a lot of wins over the year at 5.5, 6 furlongs. And last time out, she was on a racetrack where every race was won by a speed horse, and I mean every race. And so for her to rally and finish third, that was something the horses weren't doing that day. So I upgrade her a little bit there. So she's going to be on my main ticket, going for a price, but I'm not going to be so resolute about this race as I was about the 5th. I'll do a little spreading on the side.
I agree entirely. I go 295, but for Jeff Mills Inferno and the 9 horse, agree 100% there. As we go on to race 7, which I have 6 horses written down, so that's a wide open race for me, yeah. Andy. But we use this term bull ring, and when I first started calling races here in 1986 at Fonner Park, if I would have used that term, my general manager at the time, Hugh Miner, would have had a meltdown. And it was beat into my head. Don't call it a bull ring. That's a negative connotation. And I visited with a number of people, handicappers, and we like this as a handicapping possibility because, frankly, in this millennium, there have not been that many opportunities to bet the short tracks. But I will say this, it's even difficult for me to say the word bull ring and not cringe a little bit. I remember when I was still green and I first met you at Santa Anita in the press box, and I referenced that I was going to be calling races at Fonner Park. You said, "Oh yeah, that bull ring in Nebraska." And already I was racing. I hadn't even called my first race, but look, it is what it is, and handicap accordingly, and you can make some money. So we're at the 7th race. Another $2,500. What the Fillies and Mares? It's a distaff cavalcade here. Races 5, 6, and 7 are for the Fillies and Mares. Andy, what do you think here?
I'm totally confused. I don't have a good opinion. I would say that this, unlike the previous race we talked about, this race, there isn't that much speed. And number 1, Cast to Wonderful, and number 3, Dirty Dixie Road, are both speed types in good form. I mean, they're horses you have to use. But after spending a lot of time on this race, I don't have a real conviction on anybody. I put an X over some of the throwouts, but this is the race where I want as many horses as possible.
Sure. Now you've given us a little look in. So if you don't like it, you're crossing out. So Andy puts an X, and I just do a slash through on mine.
No, I'm a slash guy.
Okay. All right. Here again, this is area that we agree so much. Maybe it's because I read one of those books you wrote, or all of them. The 6 Memories of Galore would be my top selection in there, thinking that if you have to have a top selection, that's mine there. But again, spread. All right, now to the 8th race. Here again, more Fillies and Mares. These are horses that have just 1 win. It's the non-winners of 2 lifetime condition. Your thoughts here, Andy?
Well, I'm a little confused here because of one figure, and if you take a look at at numbers, at number 8, Curious Kennedy, she improved significantly last time to run a figure of 44. Number 4, SC Angel, improved like 20 points to run a 45. In fact, everybody in that race got a higher number than than their previous form would suggest. And I just wonder if there was some kind of aberration in the track or in the timing of that race. So, although the speed figures point to those two fillies, I'm just not convinced that that's legit. I'm going to use them, but I'm going to, in case that number is inflated. I mean, one horse in addition that I have to use, despite a real bad looking figure, is the 10 Oakley Gal. You have 5 horses coming out of that same field, and they were all kind of bunched, but Oakley Gal really had a wide trip, the kind of trip you can't win on a bull ring card. Yeah. I mean, she was like 3 wide at the first turn and then 5 or 6 wide all the way around the stretch turn, and only got beat a couple lengths. So that she's a definite use, along with those horses who've got much better figures.
Agreed. I'm 8-10. Those are my top 2. I go 8-10, 4-3 in that race. Now brings us to the 9th and final. And hooray, we get a mile race. Fillies and mares, no less. If you were in the announcer's booth, this is one of my favorite races to call at Fonner Park back when I used to. You just look straight across the racetrack, and when the horses leave, they're just perpendicular to your binoculars. Although there's been an Austrian pine that has grown up since then, and you can't see the shot from the announcer's booth. But at any rate, they'll make 3 turns in this race. The first turn, they'll go by, they'll make that turn into the traditional clubhouse turn, and then once more. So what do we do with the mile race here in the final leg, Andy?
Well, I think the distance is a key element here, because there are a lot of horses who haven't proved themselves at a mile. I mean, Emerald Point's last race at a mile or longer was in 2017. A Mongol Gal ran once at a mile in her whole career of 46 starts and was 4th in a field of 5. The horses that I prefer here are the 4 Moonfield and the 6 Charming Dixie. I mean, Moonfield, you look at the PPs and I mean, she looks like a sprinter too, but she in fact broke her maiden running a mile at Churchill Downs some time ago, and they're overall, I mean, she looks like she'll be able to go the distance. Number 6, Charming Dixie, is kind of a proved distance horse, but I'm a little dubious about this drop in class. I mean, here's a mare who ran for 20,000 and was claimed for 7,500, claimed away from Carl Broberg. And horses don't necessarily move up when they leave that barn. And now she's been laid off and dropped from 7,500 to 5,000. So, I mean, I'm not going to take a stand one way or another, but the drop in class and the overall circumstances of reform looks a little negative. So I wouldn't, I'm not going to depend on her.
Understood. Yes. 6-4-2 are my numbers in the 9th. Do you have any other horses that?
I do a couple of crazy. The outside horse River Deputy, I don't know what to make of, but if you look at the film of her last start, she comes out of the gate with just the weirdest looking action. I mean, it was like something was wrong from the minute she came out of the gate, at least as far as I can tell. And if you draw a line through that race, she's got figures that make her a contender here. So I mean, that's going to be a throw-in for me. I don't want to get through the first 4 legs and get to this race without at least a little extra protection.
Well, regarding the 9 River Deputy, Andy, I didn't read this in the book, so I can't blame this on you. But one thing I learned, and it took a long time for me to learn this, is one of the strongest handicapping elements is that of forgiveness. You just have to figure out a way to forgive a horse if they've proven in their past performances that they can run. And I think she has done that. And I'll say something about the trainer, Robert Mitzner. Bob Mitzner doesn't have a lot of horses nowadays, but he's a horseman and he knows what to do with the horse. And the horse has already run in and won, for that matter, here at Fonner Park already this year. So you might be onto something there. He doesn't run too many horses that don't deserve to be out there.
Yeah,
So,
and one other bomber that I will mention is the 5 Emily's Pegasus. I mean, she also came out of the gate very poorly last time. Just I just never got in. Uh, never got into the hunt early, made a little middle move and was up the track. But she's got, figures and 1 mile form that could make her a winner here. So I think that's another one to put in on a spread out ticket. Let's hope we get far.
I agree wholeheartedly. And if you're going to look at a trainer pattern, I have seen this scenario present itself already this meet. Where this could be the setup for the win for this one with the 5 Emily's Pegasus. So I'm with you for sure on that, Andy Beyer. As we wrap things up, how would you like to wrap up this 5-race sequence for the Dinsdale late pick 5 jackpot here at Fonner?
2 in the first leg, spread, and pray in the last. It's going to be fun. Jackpot days like this. I mean, no matter how long you've been in this game, just get your heart pounding. Whether it's a bull ring or Saratoga on a Saturday, it's really exciting for a player.
Well, maybe the influence from you will help us get close to that $4.1 million that was bet into the first jackpot that we had back in early in April over a month ago. We certainly have gained attention here, and I think people in their first experience when they watch 5/8 mile racing, they see a lot of it's rock'em sock'em action. It's not beauty. I refer to it as sort of the Jackson Pollock form of art as opposed to say a Rembrandt or something, or it's more Picasso than Norman Rockwell. But learn about it, and that's what handicapping is about. Know a little bit more than the next guys next year, and with a little luck, you can win some races. So thank you for your attention here, Andy, and we have another one of these jackpot days scheduled for our final day of racing, and that's Wednesday, May 27th. So hopefully you'll be along.
It's already circled on my calendar.
Good. I'm good to have a circle rather than an X. That's right. For sure. Thanks for joining us here at Fonner Park, the Nebraska springtime tradition, as I like to say, bring on the fawn.
All right.